Well, what's up? Welcome to a very special episode of the Cheap Seats. Let's try to move this so that little glare is not there. I don't really know what I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to fucking talk about something. I kind of have an idea. Let's see if I can fix my chair. Technical difficulties, guys. I guess this chair doesn't go up. It's like the handle just stuck. But I guess I wanted to make this special podcast because today is the anniversary of my father passing away, and it was a pretty interesting morning, because I had to kind of do the math and figure out how many years it had been, and it's been 10 years, and it doesn't really feel like it, of course, right? But it's been 10 years, and I am... Well, let me just start like this. So, around 3:30 a.m. today, I was awoken out of my sleep by nothing. There was no reason for me to be awake. I just woke up, and I was for real fucking awake. And I just laid there tossing and turning, and we bought another house today, so I was thinking about this house, and I was one thing with me and that old man of mine is that he always recognized that I was a little timid of some things. I don't want to take chances, honestly. I don't know what I did in my last lives or whatever, but I don't want to fucking take chances. And so I'm not big on financial risks. And we bought this house, and it's really far away from us, and one of our other rental properties is really far away too, and it's I don't know, it gets to be a task driving all the way to these places, to do stuff if you have to do something. And so I was just kind of thinking about that, and and I was oh, well, what if this, what if that, and I just had kind of had a rough night, and I fell back asleep after about an hour, and I was just fucking Christ, because I know I had for me, I usually have to get up around 7 to take my kids to school and shit, but they're off this week, so I didn't have to do any of that. But I still have that rhythm, where it's I gotta get up, I got shit to do, and so I was getting frustrated with being awake. And so I tried some yoga nidra. I just had a rough night, man. It was really rough. And then when I woke up this morning, first thing I did was I called my brother, because I'm the type of person that sometimes needs comfort from outside sources. And it doesn't even fucking matter who it is or what it is. I just need sometimes for them to tell me, hey, it's cool. You're going to be all right. And I'm sure that stems from my childhood somewhere. But so I called my brother, and I was talking to him about it. And I was just tell me it's a good idea still. And I don't even remember why I felt that way. The house needs a little work and shit, and but it's a good price. It's a good house. And it's going to be a project, you know what I mean? Because we don't have a company that's going to, mind the business. You know what I mean? It's not gonna, we don't have a company that's gonna get the tenants in. It's gonna, me and my brother are gonna do it all. And so I don't know, I was just thinking about driving back and forth, and I have this fucking big ass car, and it's fucking guzzles gas, dude. Guzzles gas. It's 12 miles to the gallon. It's a it's a crazy car. And so all that shit was just kind of weighing on my mind, and and then when I was talking to my brother, he's hey, it's the 10-year anniversary, and he's Dad would be proud of us, he'd be proud that we're doing good still, and I know he's right, and I felt it in that moment, and it's I know all these things, but sometimes it's just good for me to have somebody else tell me, because I guess I have a lot of self-doubt. I don't know if it was created by my father or what. And he's not even actually my biological father, but he was there since I was 2. And if you looked at my other channel, right, you'll know that like I made a video when my father died, and it was like I was just thanking all the other stepfathers out there, because like to me, like that was such an important role. Like he came into our lives, you know, yeah, he wanted my mom's puss, right? But like he came into our lives and he stepped the fuck up, man. He like fucking he did everything, and he never fucking touched on me. So that's a win, right? I mean, he fucking hit me a little bit, but he never fucking touched on me, and right, that's the big one. That's the fucking big one. And so I was completely blessed by him and completely blessed by everything that dude did. He had a huge 401k, and he had, you know, they had a lot of life, whatever you call it, life insurance policies. And so, you know, like he left my life, you know, way better than it ever would have fucking been, as far as I could tell, you know, like, and my mom had lupus, and so her body was constantly changing throughout their marriage. Like there's some photos of my mother where her fucking face is like this fucking round, and she's got short hair and it's all red and splotchy and shit, and she just had a really hard time with that. And my dad never wavered. I mean, he never fucking wavered on her. He always loved her. And so when he died, it was like, it was kind of a big deal to me, because he was always there. And like, I wouldn't be here now in this place without his help. Whenever I opened up my first tattoo shop, he was the one that he had a BMW coupe, and he sold it, and he took that money from that sale and gave it to me. And like, he always wanted a coupe, dude. He always wanted a fucking coupe. And he sold that car, and with the money he helped me open my first tattoo shop. And I remember when I took him to a baseball game to kind of like lube him up. And I took my whole shop with me, because we already had a shop, but I had a partner. And I guess I can go into that a little bit. I had a partner, and she was fucking horrible. It was a girl I was dating, and it was her family was my partner. And so I was working my ass off for these people, like, you know, and I just felt like, you know, like they were just sitting back catching a fucking check, and I didn't fucking like it. I didn't like it at all. And so I you know, showed him how much money one of my employees, who's like one of my close friends to this day, named Trey. I showed him like how much money Trey made in, I think it was like 6 weeks, 3 weeks, I can't remember, but Trey made like $7,000. And I don't remember if that was his take home or if that's what he made for me. It was probably what he made for me. And so like I took that to my dad, and I showed him, and I was just like, and I'll never fucking forget that shit. Because this one kid that was with us, he used to like make all these things out of metal. And so he made these little spikes, and whenever we get out of the car, he threw it in the car, and he threw it at such an angle that it bounced back and hit him in the fucking hand, and it like stabbed him. So we had to go to the fucking medical tent the very first thing when we got to the baseball game. So we didn't even get to go to the fucking baseball game right away. And so that was how it started. And I just talked to him and showed it to him, and he always had so much faith in me. When I was a little kid, we were playing in the backyard, and I kicked the ball over the fence, and like there were always dogs on the other side of this fence, always. And I was a little kid, and so I was scared shitless, because I used to antagonize the fuck out of these dogs, right? It was just this big open field, and so they were just dogs roaming around. And but like in my mind, they were always there. And so I told him, you know, like I'm not going to get it. And that motherfucker picked me up and threw me over the fence and made me go get that fucking ball. And I was probably screaming and crying like a little bitch the whole fucking time. And yeah, but that was like a big story in our life. And so anytime I had a moment where I was like fearful of like what could happen or the outcome of something, he would always just tell me, get over that fucking fence, Justin. Get over that fucking fence. And so, you know, eventually I started getting over that fence, and it's like, and I started getting over it on my own. And I don't know why I needed to reach out to my brother this morning. I just did. And And like I don't really need someone to soothe me, but man, sometimes it sure fucking helps when I have an issue, just to hear somebody else's opinion, even if it's not an opinion I'm gonna take. But so whenever I proposed it to him, and he helped me start looking for my first location and shit. And I remember I was used to paying like $800, for a little fucking 1,000 square foot or whatever, little hole in the wall. It was probably less than 1,000 square feet, but I remember paying for that. Sorry, I got a little sidetracked. So I remember paying, that was like, I was like, that's a lot of money to me. I was like 20 something, and I was definitely scared of failure. Just like this morning, scared of failure. Even though we have rental properties, we have a few, but I don't know. I felt different this morning. And the funny thing is, I should have never felt different because the signs were all there, right? We started the buying process on my dad's birthday, which is November 5th. And then we ended the buying process this morning, which is my dad's death day, which is November 26th. So I should have never even fucking faltered on it. And after it was done, I felt so good. After I signed all the papers, and I talked to my brother again, and I told him, hey, blah blah blah, because we do this together, me and my brother. And I just felt so good and so positive, and it was just another one of those fucking moments where it was like, get your ass over the fence. And I don't even know why I was tripping. I really don't. And so when I called my brother the second time after it was done, and I was feeling a lot better, and he was like, he goes, man, it's the 10-year anniversary. And I didn't really think about it like that, and I guess I kind of mentioned that he said that to me earlier, but I don't remember. But I just remember that at this point is when he said it to me, and he's like, it's the 10th anniversary, I think that's probably affecting you. And I try to consider myself pretty resilient, so I didn't think that something like that would bother me, because I've gone through 9 other fucking anniversaries of his death, and yeah, I miss him, but it didn't really affect me the way this one did. I popped awake in the middle of the night, and he died in the middle of the night. And so I don't know what that was. And if you know anything about me, or you watch my channel or my fucking stupid videos, that I'm an esoteric person. I believe in the unseen, and I believe in rituals and shit like that. But you hear ritual, you're probably thinking draw a circle on the ground with a little fucking star in it, but that's not it. It's I there's a lot of other esoteric things I believe in, and I believe in sometimes going through a process of something, even if it's not actually a real ritual. You're gonna bring that to fruition. And so that sounds crazy as shit. And I don't care. But yeah, and so there's a piece of me that's just what was that? Why at 10 years does it affect me, when my grandma was dead for 10 years, and she was so special to me too. She was someone that never gave up on me either. And so I don't know, it just really struck me this morning and today. And I guess when I talked to my brother the second time, I almost wanted to cry when he mentioned the 10-year thing, because I was just fuck yeah. And I don't know why it affected me so hard today, but I just felt like today was a good day to talk about him a little bit. I won't make this one a long one, because I don't know how many minutes people are actually watching anyway, but I'm just so thankful for that guy. I'm so thankful that someone stepped up into my life. I was just a shitty kid, man. I was a shitty kid. I would ask a question in the car to both of them, but I would always aim it at my mother, and he would answer, and I would just go, Mom. Because he wasn't my father. And so that always kind of I wasn't the greatest kid, and I said that shit to him a lot. I was like, you're not my daddy, and things like that. And he was my dad, man. There's no one else. There's no one else. And I took his death pretty decently. I remember I was dating this shitty girl, and she, man, she was fucking nuts. My dad liked her because she liked football and he liked football, and my mom liked her. My dad thought she was the shit, you know, and she was like half white, half black, so like, I don't know, a little feather in my hat or something back then. I don't know. He liked her, and I fucking hated her. And I like when I explain her to people, I just always say that I was just wasting time with her. And so me and her ended up spending the night at my tattoo shop that night for some reason. I don't really remember why. And but we slept in my tattoo shop the night he died. And when I woke up in the morning, it was just somebody banging on my window. And when I like got up and looked, it was my brother. And when I answered the door, he's like crying. He's like, "Dad's dead." And I was like, "Oh shit." So okay, so we go to the house, and this girl at the time was like, "I can't see a dead body," and all this shit. And I was just like, "Fuck off, dude." And so like when my mom told me, side note, when my mom told me that, that my dad was dying, he had stage 4 cancer, brain tumor, right? That, like I didn't even hesitate. I just told my mom my lease was up in my apartment in like a week or a month or something, and I go, "Oh, I'll move home." And my mom goes, "Oh, you will?" And I was like, "Of course." And it was because I had seen my fucking grandfather waste away after my grandmother died. I saw him lose so much weight, and I was like, I can't let this happen to my mom. And I mean, that was kind of an uphill battle because my mom was like, when she lost my dad, that was it. She fell to pieces. And this fucking shitty ass girlfriend I had at that time, she thought that like if she didn't pay rent, right, and it was just me, and I didn't give a fuck about that part. Like that shit don't bother me none. And she was like, "Oh well, I'll start paying rent." Because like later on, she goes, "Did you mean that?" And I go, "About going home, moving home?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Yeah, I fucking meant that." I was like, "My fucking dad's dying of cancer. Like, what do you mean?" And she's like, "Well, I'll pay rent." And I was like, "Pay rent?" It's like, my dad's dying, dude. I was like, I don't understand. Like, and like, I didn't understand what the fuck her problem was. Like, the fuck, are you retarded, bitch? Like, I'm never gonna understand that shit, like so selfish. And I remember telling her shit like, I can't wait till your fucking parents die. I can't wait till your fucking parents die, and you can understand this feeling that I'm feeling. And so my brother came and got me. We went to the house, and we all like kind of, I don't know if we cried together, but we all hugged. I remember all of us hugging when they were taking his body out, and we were just all in a big group hugging. And because that was like a huge loss to our family. He was super special. And so it didn't really like hit me, and plus we had like a little bit of a time to lead up to it. He like reverted into a child again because he had a brain tumor, and he was fucking hilarious. He was so funny. And they would tell him things like he would see me and go, "Hey, we went to the school earlier and we passed out flyers." And I said, "Oh yeah, for what?" And he'd go, "Oh, for your tattoo shop." And I'd be like, and knowing damn well he didn't go anywhere because he's fucking wheelchair bound, shitting on the couch and stuff. Like he was like, he didn't go anywhere. But like, then the rest of my family would go, "John, you didn't do that." And I would go, just let him say it. Like, let him have his fantasy. Like, like what? Because when they would correct him, he would go, he would be like so baffled, like that didn't happen. And he was just having his own little journey through life at that point, And I believe in consciousness, right? In like a special way. I believe that like when you fucking die, like I don't think you really fucking die. I don't think that that's it. You're fucking dust, dude. I don't think that something creates you, which is like, let's say that something's nature, right? I don't think that that's something that creates you. It's just like, fuck you, man. You're done. Your experiences are mine now. I get to have all your experiences. Like everything you did comes back to me. And like that's some of the ideas behind the Akasha records. And that's like the Akasha records are like, I think if I'm saying it right, are this record of all of humanity's information, right? And it's like this, which is, if God was omnipresent, that would be it. Like that would be it. And I just have a hard time with this, like, you don't believe in me, you're going to fucking burn in hell, you're a piece of shit, you're not worthy. Like I have children, and I have one child that fucking hates me. He fucking hates me with a passion, and I would never want something bad to happen to him still to this day. He slanders me to his family, to his mother's side of the family. Like, I hear like the craziest shit from them. You know, like they and like I would never, and he talks all kind of shit about me too, like hurtful things. And I would never ever want him to be crushed by life or to be crushed by death. Like, so I don't believe that, you know, you get created by this fucking this natural world, and then this natural world's like, oh, you didn't do this right, boom, bye. And so I always had a really hard time with that. And so like when he died, I kind of think about his consciousness, you know, because his consciousness, everything he learned in this life wasn't quite the same at the end of it, you know. And I'm like, did he just get recycled back into the process, you know? Like, you know, like in his mind he believed in a heaven, but before he died, I don't know what, you know, I don't know what happened to him, like, you know what I mean? And like I often think about these things, and if you know, you pay attention and you know me, then you know I like ancient manuscripts, right? I'm always trying to read the oldest philosophy, the oldest creation stories. I love creation stories. Like, I love them, and I think that they're so similar in so many ways. And it's really beautiful because they're all kind of pointing towards the same thing. But if you don't ever fucking go read this stuff and research this shit, you're never gonna find that. And so like for me, like, I don't know if I want to call it spirituality. I mean, I think that's what the world calls it, right? Spirituality. But I guess if that's the word we're going to use here, I'm very spiritual. And I've had a lot of psychedelic experiences, and the big thing that I've learned from those is like I've died like 1,000 times in those. And like and the big lesson I've gotten, because I've had some really deep ones, like a fucking high dose, and on some of them you couldn't tell me that I didn't die. And so like I feel like I've experienced death, and like the thing I got from a lot of those experiences are that like this isn't the end. Like, this isn't the end. I don't know what's next for me, but I know there's something else. And so like in reading all these, you know, ancient, you know, scripts and stuff like that, the oldest one I've got to is about this place called Mu, right? Which was another Atlantis. Maybe it was Atlantis. I don't think it was Atlantis from some of the things that I've read, but it very well could have been. But apparently, like, Mu was another continent in the middle of the ocean that was where all world religions come from. And there's like symbols of Mu that you can find all over the world, according to James Churchill, I believe. I would scoot out of screen to grab the book, but it's not really that important. But in this like book, he talks about the world's oldest religion, which is the religion of Mu. And in this religion, you live your life over and fucking over and fucking over, and maybe not your life. Maybe you come back as that fucking construction worker over there, or as one of your friends, or whatever. But you have to come back to this life over and over and over and over and over and over until you learn these 12 principles. And I really like that, because like 12 is a very sacred number, right? And it's like the 12 apostles, the 12 months, you know, like it's like it's a sacred number. And so when I see these little patterns and shit, I'm always like, oh, okay, you're onto something here. Like, I get it, you know. And so in this religion, though, you didn't get banished to hell. You just had to keep coming here and repeating, and maybe it'll take you one life, maybe it'll take you 1,000 lives. Nobody really fucking knows. And but I fucking find that to be so beautiful, because like in reality, that's what it should be, right? Like, you should be here, and there should be no fucking true death. And I guess that's a dangerous thing in a way, because like if you just feel like if all of us felt that way, how many bad actors out there are just going to be like, whatever, I'm about to do whatever the fuck I want, because it doesn't matter. Not all of us are going to be striving upwards. Some of us are going to be striving down, right? Because it's about balance and unity. And so like I myself am always trying to strive upwards. Like, I want to evolve to the next thing. I want to I want my consciousness to go on. I don't want to have to come here and make these mistakes again. And like, there is no real like manuscript of this religion. That's just that. Like, that's it. Like, that's the fucking principle right there. Is that, you know, you'll fucking come here until you learn these 12 fucking lessons. And with these 12 lessons, you can move on to the next stage of consciousness. And I really enjoy that. But it's also led me to, you know, and for me, that resonates with me because of like what I said earlier, which is like something I figured out years ago for myself, is that like I would never want my children to suffer. I would never, because they did something wrong, you know, like, sure, you got to pay you got to pay your price, you know, or whatever, but, you know, like, to die, no. Like, to be damned to eternal damnation, no. I don't like that. And so it never resonated that's not the word, resonated with me. But yeah, and so I always wonder about him, and I always wonder about that. And like, you know, when I started having kids, my two youngest kids, I was like, damn, are they, you know, I think about those kind of things. Like, you know, I don't know that I believe in reincarnation. I don't know that I don't believe in it. Like, I have an open mind. I feel like once you fucking set yourself on something, like, oh, Jesus, or oh, Allah, or oh, whatever, dude, like, you know, like atheism, whatever you fucking pick, like, I feel like once you do that, you're fucking screwing yourself, because you're just like, you're in the box now. There's no room for growth. Like, this is what you think, and like, there's no, I just have an open mind to the mystery, you know. And it's like, I have to come here and do this shit again. I have to come here and do this shit again. It doesn't fucking matter, you know. I don't wanna. I'm hoping to learn all these 12 principles now. And so I'm always watching myself, always learning from myself in those kind of ways. Like, oh, you're doing this. And just like this morning, like, you know, I'm like fucking losing it. And it's just like a fear of failure, you know, and like I'm aiming upward. And so I can't fail. I can't fucking fail if I aim upward, right? But there's always that little voice in the back of your head that's like, nah, you know, and fuck, I don't know. I don't even know where I'm going with any of this shit. This is all freehand. But yeah. And so, I don't know. And I just think about that shit. I wonder sometimes if one of my kids is that same spirit. You know, on one of my psychedelic trips one time, I had this thought, and I was like, holy shit, what if I have to come back in my next life as my best friend? And then after that, I had to come back as my other friend. And then after that, I had to come back. And I come back as all these different people, and I live their lives, right? Because if God's omnipotent, right, like, that's what he's doing now. He's living through all of us. And I do believe that's a real thing. I do believe that the creator of nature has instilled a flame in all of us, and it's his flame. And it might be very dim in some people where they don't have any spirituality or any kind of like deeper thoughts as to what's next, or what's, you know, like, what is this? You know what I mean? And some people just accept everything for the way it is, and that's great. That's great. That's not me though. Like, I'm always trying to look deeper. And you know, a lot of these thoughts, like I thought about this a lot, because when I was a kid, I was in private school because of my stepfather. He put us in private school. Him and my mother were really religious. They were Lutherans. And if you know anything about religion, Lutherans are pretty much next to Catholics. So they're pretty tough on each other. And it's like, they're pretty tough on, you know, like how you live your life and shit like that. And so it was a rough little childhood, but like, I feel like sometimes those early spiritual moments for me, like, you know, were very important, because they're like kind of the baby steps to the bigger pictures, you know. And you know, people get mad about religion. Some people, like, especially the people that I deal with in my field, in tattooing and shit, we're all like open-minded, right? But like, they just have these crazy thoughts, like, oh, there can be none of that shit, you know what I mean? Or like, the Christians are bad, or like, you know, Muslims are bad, and everybody's bad. And I don't think that's true, man. I think that there's like baby steps to this stuff. Like, you can't just fucking come out the womb walking and talking, right? You got to take baby steps. And so for some people, like some of those religions are where it's at, man. Like that's, and I get that and I respect that and I love that, man. Like I love it. I think that it's all beautiful. And like going to private school, I didn't think it was beautiful growing up. I thought it was fucking horrible. I was like, this place sucks. These people suck. They're so judgmental, blah blah blah. They're not free minded, you know, and all that shit. And they weren't. And they weren't. But I do really appreciate those early moments because they have shown me who I am, and and I'm so glad I know all that shit too, because then I read a lot about symbolism. I'm really big on symbols, and I think symbols like stand the test of time, and they have a deeper meaning. Like once there wasn't language, there wasn't a written word like this. It was like symbols and ideas, and I think a lot of these older religions they tell you to meditate on these symbols, and I like all that, man. I really do. I really like all that shit, and I just think everything has a place and everything is important. Yeah, and so I wonder about him sometimes. He was such a fucking nice guy. He was so sweet. He was fucking rough on me when we were kids. Like, he was real rough. He's a disciplinarian for sure. And then when he caught the brain tumor the first time, caught it like it's a cold. when he caught the brain tumor the first time, he was really mean before that. And then after his surgery, he was a different person. And then the same thing throughout the rest of my life for that point. Like, I remember my mom was my best friend as a child. My dad was my best friend as an adult. And like as an adult, my mom was almost like my antagonist, and so it reversed. And I'll never forget how much that man meant to me. Like he created me in such a way that like I can't even fathom. And like he did it almost from the side without doing it. You know what I mean? Like he definitely pushed his religion on me a lot. And he kicked me out over it and shit like that when I didn't want to, you know, play the game of confirmation and all that stuff. But, you know, like at some point I just understood that like, man, that's just him trying to figure out his own shit, you know? And I don't think that I'm more advanced than him or anything like that in my consciousness conquest, you know? And like I don't know. I just have all these thoughts, and sometimes like I try not to let them get too crazy because then they start feeling narcissistic. You know, like, you know, was his whole purpose to help me? You know, like, because he was all about sacrifice. He sacrificed that car. He sacrificed his youth for me and my mother. He didn't have to like take me to be his kid and pay for my shit and all that stuff. And we weren't fucking rich, dude. We were so poor as a kid. I wore the same shirt the first day of school to third grade as I did on the first day to school in sixth grade. The same fucking shirt. And so we were by no means like had money, like, you know, and I remember his clothing was always tattered and worn, and it was just fucking, his sacrifice to me was so beautiful. And I just want to be more like that. You know, like, I do everything for my kids that they ask and they want, you know, but I feel like I have a fucking long way to go before I live up to the things he did for me. Yeah. And, yeah, I don't know. I feel like I might be winding this down now. But I feel like really happy now that I said all that stuff and got to say it out loud. I'm also the type of person that believes in when you have these thoughts inside your head, and they can be like almost crippling, you know, or not really crippling because I don't get crippled by thoughts, but they can be like pretty heavy, right? And then when you express your fucking ideas or your opinions or your thoughts like on something that's bothering you, when you express it out loud, it's like you get to hear how stupid some of it is or how relevant some of it is, you know. Most of the time it just sounds stupid, but, you know, like it is a really nice thing for me because that's how I work. That's how I work things out. And so there have been moments in my life where I've just talked so much to people that I didn't need to talk to. And that's kind of like why I say, I have like I always need quelling from the outside, you know what I mean? Like, it's like I'll reach out to somebody for comfort, and it's just like, but it's like me getting to say it out loud and getting it out of my head is what propels me forward, because I'm not really listening for anyone else's response. It's just me. It's just me and me, right? What do they say? I'm my only competition. And that's so fucking true, because like, it's just me critiquing me. Like, the things that I say right here, like, I don't give a fuck. You could say I talk like an insecure girl. You could say whatever you fucking want. And it doesn't matter, because I'm not going to read the comments. And because it doesn't fucking matter to me. Like, I definitely overshare with people, but I think that's the reason why I do it, is because it helps me get a grip on some of the things that I'm having an issue with. And so, yeah, I just wanted to make this little quick podcast to, put gratitude out there for all the fucking stepfathers that step up and that are real fucking men. And, you make mistakes, like nobody can raise a kid perfectly, but he did really fucking good, man. And I just really appreciate any stepfather, and I'm probably going to appreciate him more today than any other day, because it's going to be on my mind all day. But yeah, it's just a beautiful life, even with its ups and its downs. My mom's gone too now, and so now all I have is my kids and my brother. And I'll tell you a few more things probably before we wrap it up. I doubt half of you are listening anymore anyway. But when... Shit, did I just lose it? Oh no. Yeah, I lost it. Oh well. Maybe I'll edit it out. Maybe I'll keep it in. Fuck, it's gone. What was I thinking about my mom? Shit, I don't know. I wish Barry was here right now. Because Barry could help me bounce back off. But he would never have let me gotten all this shit out. And I really needed to get it all out of me. Oh, okay, so my brother, that's what I was going to say, is one night I had a dream, right, when I really missed my dad, man. It was like maybe a year or two after he was gone, and I missed him so much. Maybe my mom was already dead too, so maybe it was like 4 years after he was gone. And like, it was kind of confusing to me too, I think, if I remember this correctly, that like, because I was like, why am I dreaming about my dad? Like, my mom was the fucking dude, you know what I mean? Like, but she wasn't my guide. She was my mother, but she wasn't my guide. My father was my guide. And so one day I had this dream, right? And it's like this fucking crazy looking Harry Potter world where like kids are running, like people are running to class, not kids, but just people are going up and down all these stairs. Some of the stairs are upside down, like that MC Escher drawing. And like people are moving as if gravity didn't exist. They're just walking upside down, like they're all going to places. And it's this very gothic looking, like crazy place. And I remember like my brother came up to me and he was like, he found me in that place and he goes, this is the best I could do. And he like brought me my dad. And I remember the only difference was his teeth were different. And it was just the bottom teeth that I remember. And he kind of had some snaggly little bottom teeth. And but they were like even more snaggly. And it was like when they like clone something, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't exactly the same clone, but my brother brought me this clone or whatever, and he goes, this is the best I could do. And whenever I saw him, I wrapped my arms and my legs around my dad. Like I jumped on him like a kid and I wrapped my legs and my arms around him, because like he meant so much to me and he was so important to me, and I didn't really get to express that while he was alive. And by the time like I was like at a point in my life where I could be grateful, and like, yeah, grateful is the word, where I could be grateful and show him that, it was done. He was dead and gone, And so I guess if anything, like, in that dream, what that dream really meant was that, because my brother is my father's son, right? I'm not. He was my stepfather. My brother is the closest thing that I'm going to get to my father. And so, and I mean, he's so like, he's getting his own shit together sometimes. I mean, he's still growing and learning, right? And but he can fucking listen, and he can kind of give me what I need when I need it. And so, like, I'm super grateful for those genetics entering into my life. Like, I can never be thankful enough. I'm so thankful for those Carlsons and those Kenwards, man. They were some beautiful people. My stepdad, his mom, those were very special people to me. The rest of his family, like, they don't really reach out too much, but his mother and him were kind beyond measure. And and it's like not till they're all dead that you realize like how much they gave to you. They gave it all. Like, my grandmother, my father's mom, she just fucking would take me every summer. I would go out to her in California, and I would just spend however long with her, and she treated me like as if I was hers. There was no doubt about it. And when she died, it was after my father, and she like had stopped eating, and so we went to go see her in the hospital. And I told her, like, whenever everybody else left the room, it was just me and her, I like walked over to her bedside and I said, "Hey, what's going on with you?" And she knew what the fuck I was getting at. She knew that, like, we had a good relationship. And and she goes, "You just don't know what it's like to live without one of your children." And there was really nothing I could say. You know what I mean? It definitely like bothered me and upset me. There's nothing I can say. There's nothing I can say to that, like, because I don't know that. I don't know what that's like, and man, like, me and my brother and my kid, we were still here, you know what I mean? And like, that's my first thought was that, of course, is like, hey, like, we're still here, you don't have to give up, like, and I wish that I would have convinced her to come live with us for just like a month or two or something like that after my dad died, because fuck, we could all used it. My mom could have used a friend. Her mom had already died by that point. And I'm a man, right? So I wasn't very good at reading the room with my mom. My mom had a horrible time with my dad's death. And I remember I used to tell her, like, Dad would be so mad at you right now. And I was thinking that this was going to snap her out of her little fucking depression, like, hey, you're right, your dad would be mad at me for acting like a little baby right now. Because he would have been. That's the kind of guy he was. And she never heard it. She never, like, I mean, I would say it to her. She never fucking heard it. It never got through to her. And, I wish my grandmother would have come, but obviously, like, as I've said on previous podcasts, when I talk about these things, about regret and shit like that, it's like, if it were meant to be any other way, it would have been that fucking way, right? Like, life goes the way it's supposed to fucking go. You can be like, why did that happen to me? Like, all you fucking want, but that's the way it's supposed to be. There's lessons here. There's lessons in all these moments. And, as long as you can remain observant of those things and like always looking for them, then you'll find them. Unfortunately for me, it wasn't till after everybody was fucking dead, and then it was like, oh, then you get all these realizations. And so I guess my point that I'm really trying to get at throughout this video and through everything else is that, like, spend fucking time with your loved ones. Even if you fucking hate them, understand that it's like, you're going to have your reasons for hating them, right? But understand that it's like their first time too. There's moments when I'm driving down the road and I'm just like, and I'll say something like sarcastic about somebody and something stupid that somebody's doing that I see on the driving or on the street, and, or like, why is that motherfucker even thinking like this? And it's like, because that's what's meant to be for them, like, there's lessons here. And if you don't become observant of that, you're probably going to be doomed to repeat it over and over and over and over. I mean, that just to me seems like a good explanation, like, but the majority of humans are walking around right now with no fucking clue what the fuck they're doing. Like, why are we here? And there's no real definitive answer. And, you know, like maybe at one time humanity knew, but we definitely don't fucking know now. It's not just to drive your car and to make money. Like those can't be the reasons you're here. Like to have a good life. Like there has to be something deeper. There has to be lessons. And like again, not for all of us. Some of us are probably just here to go through those animalistic urges and to go through those things and experience them because there's no other way to grow. And so be mindful, you know, of that. And maybe this will be the last story. I don't fucking know. Sorry, I like to talk. But after my mom died, I had this friend, and she was at this restaurant that's right across. You see me looking, right? Like I'm looking, like I'm not looking at you, and I'm so sorry. But, you know, like there's just a lot of action out there. And there's this restaurant right over here, like outside this window, across from my tattoo shop. And I went and met a friend over there after my mom died. And because, you know, she's like, oh my God, we're over here. Come over here. And like, you know, let me see how you're doing. And so I walked over there and, you know, we started talking and I'm telling her how my mom died. And she's like, hey, your dad's dead? Like, oh my God, I couldn't believe it. And she's really close with her mom. And she's like, I can't imagine it. And I go, well, you better fucking start. You better fucking start imagining that they're gonna die. And I think that's a mistake a lot of people make. Is like you don't think you're fucking. I didn't think my family was gonna die. I thought that my life was gonna be like the movies where you come home for Christmas and you have your whole family and they just never go anywhere until you're old. Your parents don't die until you're old. And both my parents died in my 30s. And that was pretty tough. It was pretty tough. It was definitely an experience, but it's nothing that like my experience is nothing compared to some people's experience, right? Because there's people out there that lose their kids at birth. I know a girl that's like she's not really like one of my customers anymore because she was a Kamala Harris supporter, and I don't fucking even vote, but I definitely like the other guy versus Kamala Harris. That bitch seemed retarded. And so she has deleted me. Like I even reached out to her the day of the election. I was like, hey, you know, are you okay? You know, like whatever. She never responded back to me. She was just that butthurt. And I was just like, hey, I didn't even vote. But she still didn't like, you know, even acknowledge it. Didn't even fucking acknowledge it. And so what's my point? Oh, the other people have experiences that are worse, you know, and like that's true. Like that's fucking true. Like and so like my experience is nothing, but for my experience, it was my experience. And I just guess that like my point is I want to share this with you. If you stuck around for this long in the video, my God, you're my favorite fucking person right now because, you know, I'm hoping that you got something out of this. I'm hoping that you got something powerful from my experience, you know, and my experience is nothing special. It's nothing special. I had this other customer who's adopted, and like he was telling me his life story, and I was just like, oh my God, and like the family that took him in changed his whole life. And bro, he is a hard-working goddamn person. He works at fucking like Jack in the Box or some other fast food place. I don't remember, but he's a manager and he's young. And there's no fucking shame. Like there's no shame in that shit. Like to me, I'm just like, wow, look at how resilient this kid is. You know, like to have no, like I can only imagine what that's like to feel like nobody fucking loves you. And to still like make well with your life. Like, man, shout out to Josh, bro. Shout out to Josh. You're a fucking inspiration to me. I know you don't even fucking know about this YouTube channel, but god damn, dude. You're a fucking inspiration to me. And so's the girl that doesn't fucking want to be friends with me anymore because of Kamala Harris. Which is stupid. But, you know, like, she's an inspiration to me too because she's really young and both of our parents died. And I don't know if I said that part earlier. I just probably went off on a tangent. But, man, to me, that's so amazing. It's so resilient. Well, I guess I'm going to end this shit here because that's like a fucking hour of me rambling. So if you stuck around, thank you so much. Me and Barry are probably going to do a, Thanksgiving podcast because that's what we do. Barry's like my family, so he kind of dresses in stupid pants like my dad did. So I love that motherfucker, and I love you motherfuckers too. Thank you to all you guys that stick with me and watch this bullshit, because I know that I'm just a rambling motherfucker sometimes, and I appreciate it, man. I love all of you. I'm so thankful for my fucking dad's life, my mom's life. I'm thankful for your fucking life. I'm thankful for Josh. I'm thankful for everybody, man. Barry, my girlfriend, my kids. I love it, man. All right. See y'all later.